Hello everyone, and as you can see, I'm working on this a little bit still. Actually, technically, where the fuck's my... Come here, you. Come here, you tablet pen. You little rascal. I actually am already done with this. I'm just going through and making a few more changes. I might clean up one or two other things, but I'm more or less done. What I'm going to be doing now is just adding in some blur lines in between scene transitions. That way it looks a bit more solid. I think I can probably do it inside of a Power Director, or whatever the hell it is that I use. But maybe not, so just to be safe, just to be safe. Alright, let's get to the questions pleasantly asked on YouTube. Actually, everyone always asks on Patreon. It's kind of strange. I don't mind that, though. Dear Eli, what non-useful skill do you want to learn? Example, I'm throwing things, so I would like to develop it to become more like Batman. Non-useful skill? I don't know. What non-useful skill would I like to learn? Drawing? I really don't know. I used to... One of my little miniature dumb hobbies as a human being was, hurling a ball up in the air and catching it sort of overhanded. Like bringing my hand back down and catching it on the downfall so that it was on top of the ball. I remember doing that in front of some kids. I had a ball for some reason, and I think it was like senior year in high school, and they were absolutely bewildered that I could do such a thing. It was like magic to them. That was pretty useless, and that was a stupid story, so I guess that's kind of how that worked. I don't know. I don't know. What was the... before this? Oh yeah, I was transitioning from that, so... probably be good to have some blue up top. Whoops. Blue up top. And to work back down with some, brown on the bottom. Something like that. Yeah, okay. But in doing this, whenever you're doing these little smears, you're going to try to give the impression that it's transitioning from one thing to another. So it just needs to be sort of vaguely what it was on top, which it looks like this, over to this, which you can't see anyways. So actually, that'd probably be a bit more purple, because I tried to keep the skies in this one a bit more purple than blue. Okay, audio capture. Bandicam, what are you doing? Your sound card does not capture the... Wait, what? Bandicam, what are you telling me? Audio capture information. Your sound card does not capture the sound. What a extremely clear prompt. Thank you for interrupting, just for the sake of that. Thank you so much, Bandicam. Let's get to another question. Caleb Long. Hello, Plague. I've been rather curious. Have you ever read any of Lovecraft's stories? Quite a long time ago. I feel you would enjoy The Color Out of Space or The Dreams of the Witch House. If not, you should really check that out when you get the chance. I can't remember if I specifically had checked those out before. And also, whenever you say Lovecraft stories, do you actually mean his stories, or do you mean within that mythos? Because as you probably know, I'm sure if you're a big fan of his, then you know, that they were actually a collection from many different authors, not just him. Was that the same thing? Yeah, okay, I need to switch back to the light color. Yeah, it's a bit more true. Okay, let's try to fill this in a little bit too. But that was actually a collection from many different authors. They had their own writing group, and that's how they expanded the universe. They just built on top of one another's ideas. Pretty interesting. I wish more people did things like that. But anyways, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I've read quite a bit whenever I was younger, but it's been many years since I've done anything like that. Feel this in. Indonesian Bob 67. Is it true that all livestock cower at the mere sight of your midriff? I think that most things cower at the sight of my midriff. But probably not for the reasons I would like. It'd be nice to have a six-pack and also be an animator. But it doesn't quite work that way, does it? No, it doesn't. Actually, a funny thing about cows. Cows are actually share... If you probably are going to know instantly what I'm talking about as soon as I bring this up, if you have seen this sort of thing on YouTube. But cows actually have a lot of things in common with people that have autism. Which sounds like I'm making fun or something, but I'm not. It's actually true. They tend to panic very easily if they see things that they are not used to, that they do not expect. Infamously, whenever they're being paraded down to cattle stock sort of rows, if they see like a leaf sitting in the middle of that pathway, they will just freak out and they will not move because they did not expect that one little thing you know, it's a completely clear path except for this one leaf, and that just blows their fucking minds. It just makes them just lose their shit. Really weird thing about cows. Okay. Elizabeth Smith, that's what your name is now, Elizabeth Smith. I'll put my questions up top to help save time. If you prefer music without lyrics while you work, do you listen to much in the way of film soundtracks or game soundtracks other than Souls tracks? Sometimes, yes. Do you find listening to music with a particular atmosphere helps you work better, or is it just a matter of having the noise there? Yes and no. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It just kind of depends on what mood I happen to be in. Should I go? I think I'll go with a blacker one. Kind of depends on how it's going to transition. I'll try it out here. Yeah. Having something with a lot of lyrics in it sometimes will fuck me up. And sometimes it doesn't do anything at all. Just kind of depends on what mood I'm in. I kind of tend to just listen to whatever. Sometimes having the lyrics actually interrupts my workflow, and sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes I don't notice it at all. Like, sometimes I can listen to a movie, and sometimes I just can't. Because I end up paying more attention to that than I do than anything else. It's just one of those things. It kind of just depends on what your workflow is. The most irritating is whenever you find that it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's always going to interrupt you that day, or you just can't concentrate on anything. Those are the worst days, because you really want to be working, but you just can't. It's just fucking you up so badly. These lines take forever. Rest in Rip Smiths. What? I don't know. Maybe I said something last time that I don't remember. Anyway, quick question. Have you ever traveled outside of the United States? Is there any place in the world you would like to visit someday? I'm not actually overly enamored with the idea of going out of the States. I kind of get the impression that any place that you go is probably going to be kind of the same as it is anywhere else in the world. The people, more or less, they're going to speak different languages, obviously. There's going to be a little bit different details, but more or less it's just going to be the same shit you find everywhere else. So I'm not big on the idea, oh, you need to go to Paris, it'll be so pretty, and everyone will be in love. No, it's just going to be the same dickheads that you find everywhere else. Funny story, I think this is going to come up in the... I think he said it was going to come up in the Dark Souls finale for... the Dark Souls 2 finale for Pet and Wooly. But he mentioned it there, so I'll mention it here. I was going to travel up to Canada and do some stuff with them around the end of December. Or that was an idea, at least. But I don't have my passport. So as a result, it takes a while to get a passport. So we kind of just decided just to not bother with that. So eventually I might end up going to Canada. I have no idea. I may never do anything. I have no idea. But I guess probably if I were to go anywhere outside of the States, it'd probably just be Canada, just for the sake of doing that. It's a bit of a nuisance to travel anywhere, so there's probably a reason why, if I never did, that would be why, just the sheer laziness of it. But other than that, I don't really guess. Whenever you think about it, most of the planet is absolutely covered up in sand and uninteresting places. It's either sandy or it's cold and dreary. Most of the places on Earth are kind of shitty in a very grand scope of things. You have to really get down to the very specific spots. Like, even if you look at the United States. The United States is mostly just barren plains whenever you look at it on a map. And it's not until you get into very specific areas of states that you say, oh, this place looks really nice. Like, for instance, the state that I live in, people like to attribute it to having very beautiful vistas and so on. But not in my part of the state. My part of the state is nothing but swamplands. So even though my state is known for blah, 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 it doesn't really matter, because in my particular part of the state, that is not what it looks like at all. So, I don't know. It's whatever. Let's see. Howdy, Eli, you beautiful, sexy Adonis of an individual. You've mentioned a few times how you used to be willing to dinosaurs' prehistoric ship when you were a kid. And as someone who has had the chance to study them, I have always just wondered what makes people just kind of grow out of them and wanted to hear your side. Why do people grow out of liking dinosaurs so much? I think the reason why people grow out of that, where's my purple? I think I'm going to add a little bit of in-betweens up here. to keep it blending correctly. I think the reason why people grow out of that is the same reason that they grow out of much of anything. They eventually kind of learn everything that they feel there is to learn about it, that they find interesting or compelling. And it just so happens that whenever we're kids, it's one of the first things that we gravitate towards. Ugh, goodness. So naturally, people just kind of grow out of it in that respect. It's the same way with video games. There are things that you absolutely love to play whenever they first come out or whatever, and eventually you just stop being interested in it because you've experienced everything that there is to experience. Not that you become a master at it, but just because you've kind of just grown out of it. And I guess the question of why people grow out of things is a different topic entirely. But probably a more apt question it might be, why are kids so fascinated with dinosaurs? And I guess it's because of the idea that they're so huge, but it's something that they have never seen before and that they will never see. The closest would be something like an elephant, and even that's like, what's that down there? What the fuck am I looking at? Now you'll just have to wait to find out, you little bastards. You little bastards, you. But that's probably why. Alexander Thomas, your theory on age-based writing skill is interesting. I wonder, as a 19-year-old writer, should I hold off on writing the stories I've been crafting for a few years until I reach my mid-20s, and I have a better grasp on writing, so I can, in theory, be sure the story I'm writing is the best it can be? No. No. Here's why. Whenever I say that the reason why that people are actually start writing better whenever they get to their mid-20s, it's because they have been writing. And it's because that they have explored all the things that they're interested in at the time, and they've grown as a person and they've grown as a writer. By telling yourself, I'm not going to explore my ideas until I have reached age X, you're defeating the whole point. It's not a matter of a mathematical formula. It's not as though you're going to hit 25 or 26 or something, and then, bam, everything just starts falling together. The reason why that whenever you hit 25 or 26 or whatever, and everything starts clicking and falling together, is because you have spent all that time in between being 19 and being 25 or 26 or 29 or whatever, that you have spent all that time working and growing as an individual. So, yes, you should be working on that as soon as possible. God damn it, stop moving around, you naughty purple. You should start working on it as soon as possible. Because the things that are important to you now, the things that you consider to be great ideas for stories now, are not going to be things that you consider to be great ideas for a story in 5 or 6 years. I'm sure that whenever you get a little bit older, you're going to look back on whatever your idea happens to be now, and say, that was really stupid. Not because I think that your idea is stupid. I have no idea what your idea is. Don't tell me your idea. I can't critique everything. But it's just because that's just part of growing up. You end up developing the idea further, and so on. One of the grim realities of growing older is that, what should I do down here? It's going to have to be a lighter brown. Probably, what can I use that's lighter? One of the grim realities of growing older is that the things that you are working on whenever you're young are probably not going to pan out. It's just one of those things. Like, say, you have that story that you're writing on, it's probably not going to be any good. I'm sorry. Just because of the age that you're at. It's not a matter of you're young, so you're going to be shitty, although I guess that's part of it too. Whenever I was young, I was shitty too. It's just a matter of the fact that you're practicing an idea. And as you keep trying to use that idea over and over again, it's going to keep evolving as an idea over and over again. So you're really doing yourself a disservice whenever you are failing to explore the ideas that you have now. Just keep working at it, and you will find that as you keep doing it, and as you keep experiencing new things, that the idea that you think is so great at the moment is inexorably going to change over time, and it's going to develop even more than you think it does now. For example, whenever people scream at me, whenever I'm doing this is a common comment that I get, whenever I'm doing the tri-fusions, or, it's things like that. Did I use that? Yes, it was Hatskin too. is that they are yelling at the screen because I keep changing things in the image, but then once I finally change them, they realize, oh, that was for the best. And that's just one of the aspects of writing. It's one of the aspects of drawing. You just need to keep changing things and keep exploring new avenues until you get to, you know, that form or that idea, whatever, that you feel comfortable with. Take a look at artists that, like, say, look at the Dark Souls series. I know there's a question coming up about Dark Souls. Or even just FromSoft's in general. Miyazaki games. All of his tend to be kind of the same exact thing, like the Umbasa thing. People were saying, oh, it's going to be a Demon Souls game about Bloodborne because someone said the word Umbasa. No, it doesn't. I don't want to say I know for a fact, but it's really leaning towards it not having anything to do with Demon Souls. If you have any insider information, which I guess I'm the only person that kind of does at the moment. It's not going to be another Demon Souls game. It's just because he likes reusing things from older games. Like Umbasa is just one of his things. It's one of his words that he likes to use. And like the idea of the maidens that level you up and so on. They've obviously used that in Demon Souls. They've reused it in Dark Souls 2. And now they're going to reuse it in Bloodborne. That doesn't mean that they're all the same person. It's just a thing that he likes to do. If you look at some of my art, I guess, there's probably... Well, here's a good example. Like John Fucklaw. The stupid Angry Marines thing that I invented for a TG way back in the day. I have reused that character in various itinerations ever since then. They have not all been... Which one was this? It's because I don't want to fade it out too much. So I'll probably just... Okay, this one... Okay, I do need the transition between that one. I have reused that in several ways. The novel that I was making, he was in it once again, but he was a completely different character in some ways, but still the same character in other ways. It's just something that I have developed over time. So that's just the way it is. So go for it. Just keep writing. Don't ever stop on something and say, well, I can't use it yet. I'm not good enough. Because the time that you're waiting for will never come unless you're the one that makes that time come. And the perfection that you're looking for is never going to happen. Just don't worry about it. Just keep going. Lord Plague, if you could go back in time and were able to make one character, boss and or covenant, be featured in either Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 2, who or what would it be? What cool rewards would be granted and what interesting items or themes would be featured? That's kind of a loaded question. I don't really have... Oops. Don't scroll all the way down. Accidentally hit the spacebar. Go back up. Keep going back up. I know we hit it a lot. Just go back up. Goddamn Firefox has been such a nuisance lately. Okay, there it is. It's kind of a loaded question. Just because didn't... Okay, good. It's kind of a loaded question just because there's a lot to say about covenants. I don't really, I guess, have any strong feelings on them. I always thought the covenants were kind of messy, the way that they handled them. Damn it, come on. There you go. I always thought that the covenants were a little bit messy in some respects. That's something I might comment more on inside of a Dark Souls video. But the kind of the gist of it is that the way that you have to drop covenants and you lose half of it in Dark Souls 1 doesn't really work particularly well. And the way they did it in 2, in which there are no consequences to anything, also does not work particularly well. But in regards to individual covenants... Maybe I'll use another dark... No, come on. Nothing? Okay, there it goes. My own custom covenant? I don't know. The thing about covenants is that they should be something that is used in service to, in service of the story. So it had to be something story-related, I guess. So I guess it would... That really is kind of a thing that's more for... What would the story be of the game that I was working on on the time? So, I don't know, it'd be contextual for that. Do you know, what do I need to put here? Let's put another one of these. Yeah, that blends a little bit. Maybe I won't even have to end up using these, I don't know. It depends on how well the effects in Power Director are. I don't know, hold on, let me think. Covenants, I don't know. I guess I would probably have something... Because I really don't like the idea of invasions. I think the idea of having a covenant for helping people is also a little bit too generic. Maybe something... Probably something more involved. Like something that you actually have to do. Like there's a process involved to it. It's not something that would just be an after effect. Like you're always going to invade someone if you're the type of person that does that. You're always going to help people if that's the kind of person that you are. So it would need to be something that you actually, it becomes a job. It becomes something that you can do. Like, I'll give an example. Instead of doing, say, instead of the blood covenant in which you invade someone and kill them, blah, 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 and you get upgrades for killing someone, which you were going to do anyways, maybe instead it would be like you would have to kill them in a specific way. Or maybe once you do kill them, since you're on the covenant, you don't leave, but you have to do something else. I don't know, it's something I would have to sit down and think about. I'll think about it more later, whenever I'm not supposed to be working, which I'm not doing right now. So that's not a very good answer, I guess, but it is what it is. Let's see. Alexander, oh no, Alexander Tronoskis? Why are there so many people with odd last names that watch my videos? I guess that's good. I don't want a bunch of Smiths and Franklins and Doomhorses. Doomhorse? I just made that up. I don't know what I'm talking about. Hey Eli, ever think about self-publishing that novel on Amazon as electronic book? This is going to be a short answer. No, because it's not done. I was reworking it whenever I stopped. I need to get some little bit of blue in there, I guess. I was reworking it at the time, so it's just not done at the moment. Which I think now that, like, for example, whenever I was reworking it, I had the idea of, well, apparently they didn't really like the way that it ended, because originally it just sort of ends. There's not like a big penultimate thing. So I decided, well, maybe I should make it more Hollywood and have a big final thing at the end, because I was having trouble finding a publisher and no one really seemed that interested in it. So I decided, well, maybe I should try to make this more accessible. But of course, now that wouldn't be a concern, I would have to go back and rework my rework to try to get rid of all that stupid shit. So it's one of those things I'll probably never get around to it, just because, you know, I don't have the time. Even with Patreon, that's something I would have to stop doing and work on full time for probably a few months at least. And I really don't have time to be fucking around with things like that. Maybe in a month in which I have time to, I don't know. Maybe in a month in which I have time because I'm doing, like, art gripe videos or something. Because those are a little bit more simple than this. This animation, holy shit, did I ever overestimate my abilities. Because this, even though the actual animation... The actual animation, I set out thinking I'll do frame to frame now. Since I have the time. But it didn't work out that way just because it's like 4 or 5 minutes long. So I just never had time. So that kind of ended up fucking me over. But anyways, in regards to that, it would have to be... I would need at least a few months. I don't know. I'll think about it, but I really doubt that it's ever going to happen. I just don't have the time. But maybe I will one day. I don't know. Short answer. Wasn't it? Yeah. Thanks for the video play. We all enjoyed listening, blah, blah, blah. 2 quick questions, blah, blah, blah. Since you mentioned Tupac, I was wondering, do you have any current favorite rappers? No. I know I started getting old whenever someone asked me if I had been listening to Drake, and I asked, who the fuck's Drake? I don't know. I don't know anything about modern rappers. Pretty much anything that's after the mid-90s, I have no idea. If you look at my playlist, it's just a bunch of, like, 2 Live Crew and, Grandmaster Flash and Tupac and, Ice Cube might be in there somewhere and things like that. So, no, I have no idea. Question, have you ever seen Mystery Science 3000? That show is my equivalent to your Star Trek reruns. Yes, I have, but every single time that I try to supplement my work with that show, I tried to start from Season 1, and Season 1 is so fucking rough. Like, it has to be. but the jokes just fall flat. It's not very solid at all. So I always have problems trying to get through. I always end up eventually just dropping the idea. So, yeah, I have, but I can't really watch it. I always try, and I always fail. Why is this not closing? Is it here? It's there. So it's here? Well, what the fuck was it doing that for? What the hell? Is it right? Oh, it's right here. Holy shit, that was small. Damn, I hate that about vector drawings. One day, I'm going to attempt to animate something in Photoshop one day. I have tried in the past. I know how to do it, but it is so irritating. I despise trying to do it in Photoshop. But maybe one day I'll try to figure out some sort of little 30-second or 20-second or 10-second animation and just try to do that and see how it works. It might be faster, it might be way longer, I have no idea. But I hate trying to animate in vectors because it is so messy, because it's so awkward. Just trying to make a line, like, I'll demonstrate. Like, say I want to draw a perfect sphere. In Photoshop, or anything raster, I would just, kind of work around. But that creates so much information because I'm doing individual strokes that if you try to animate that way in vector, it loads the program down with too much information and it can cause errors or it can just make the file size enormous. So that's awful. You can't do it that way. So in vector, you have to do a clean swipe every time, which means everything has to look clean and everything has to be absolutely perfect. And as a result of trying to assemble these individual lines, everything ends up having that certain... That's why everything in my animations looks the way it does, and why it looks so drastically different from my raster drawings. Because I have to work in vector. It's irritating. It just drives me absolutely crazy. Anyways, what the fuck was this question about? Was this the... We were talking Mystery Science 38 or 3000. How did I get off on that? Anyways, yeah, I don't really watch it. What the fuck was I talking about? Where am I? Who am I? Kate... What is this? Oh, no, it's not Kate, it's Kat. Kat? Missy Leninski? Is that it? I don't know. You can call me Kat. Oh, it's too late for now. Don't even bother attempting to pronounce my last name. Too much grief. I've been a patron from the start, but this is my first time submitting a question to you. I've been watching your Trifusion videos and adore watching your process for designing characters and drawing a piece. It's actually made me curious about your writing process. Do you have any primary stage for your writing, for instance? Yes. How much do you need to come up with ahead of time for the more lengthy story that requires a lot of world building? I've tried to freehand my writing in the past, but I found I write better if I come up with a structure ahead of time. But I've never had a solid process for doing it for lengthier stories without overthinking it and losing my focus. That is a common problem. I had that problem whenever I was much younger. Thanks so much for all the videos, by the way. Don't run yourself too ragged. Too late for that. Find a pace that works for you and don't try to kill yourself trying to please everyone. Can't really afford to do that since it's Patreon. But thanks all the same. Yes, it's very important. Well, some people just sit down and start writing, and supposedly it works for them, but that's one of those things that I don't really believe it. Like they say, yeah, it works for me. It works so good for me. It's one of those things that I think, yeah, sure it does. I'm thinking of a specific writer. I can't remember who it was, but I remember reading in interviews and thinking, he said that in interviews. It might have been Stephen King, I don't know. And then thinking, yeah, but your prose is such a clusterfuck. Things just happen. And I'm sure it's because you're describing your just sit down and start writing approach to this. And that's the reason why it's that way. So that's one of those things people say that they can do it. I don't really believe it. I don't think so. By the way, I think I'm at the point that I can probably take this, paste it into this one, and then invert it. That is a really cheap way of doing this. And this may not look correct. We'll have to see what it looks like. Let's see. Leg. Nah, that doesn't look quite correct. I'm going to have to stretch this out or something. Let's try to... I might have to... Let's see. No, let's try that. It might be because both of these need to be. I might have to redo this whole thing. I don't know. These blur lines are really tricky. That looked better. It's more forgivable. This is something that's not really that much of a concern. Now, that's obviously just flipping. Maybe what I can do See, if this was all straight up just one color, then I could just flip it or something, and that would be the easiest way to get around it. Let's stretch this out this way, and then take this back over. Make it come down a little bit. Make it come this way, and maybe that'll work a little bit better. And this is what working's like. Yeah, that doesn't look quite as bad. It's this kind of area right here that's fucking it up. Because this shape is so similar to this one, it actually kind of makes this kind of area orbit a little bit while it's animating. It's still obvious. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a third one. Let's get this out of the way, and I might be able to, let's see, maybe I can go 1, 2, 3, 2, then back 1. Maybe I can do it that way. So I might be able to get one last one in between this one and that one. Let's go ahead and copy this in, then I can probably change a little bit of this up. Maybe I spread it up this way. Take it up, get rid of some of this. Just don't need this exact shape, and that's the main problem. Maybe take it down, spread a little bit of purple in here. I'm going to be missing a few things. And then fill this back in with some of the brown, and maybe that'll get us done. Okay, yes, you need to start, you need to lay everything out ahead of time. And the problem people will come across is they don't know exactly how much they need to lay out ahead of time. Should they lay out every last bit of dialogue? Should they, you know, no, that's not how you do it either. The trick that I found in my own writing process anyways, is doubtlessly, you kind of start out with general scenes, ideas, very loose ideas that you want to transition between. This usually, in my experience, how it is. Let's actually, hold on. 2, 2, 1. Okay, and then I can paste this whole thing, copy, paste. See how that looks. And that's not quite as bad. Yeah, that's okay. I'll keep that. Okay, I can lock that, and there's one more later that I need to do, but I guess I'll just get through the questions and end it here. Oh, goodness. That took longer than I wanted it to. But yes, you want to try to... I guess I'll draw a butt in the meantime for you guys. Just a butt. Let's do that. Let's draw a butt up here. Oh, yeah. Now we're talking. Let's draw this ass. This fucking ass. Oh, yeah. Draw a little poot. Oh, yeah. This fucking poot. Yeah, now we're talking. Anyways, yeah, you want to make sure that you have everything laid out ahead of time. What I would do is I would try to transition between each of those major scenes that I wanted. This is something that I would have to actually do a whole video for. But the basic idea is that you want to first lay out your theme. What is your theme going to be? What is the whole book going to be about? Is it going to be about poverty? Is it going to be about embracing your sexuality? Is it going to be about, you know, how great that chicken tastes? You know, whatever your theme wants to be. And after you've come up with that, which you may not come up with a theme until you're like halfway through. There's nothing wrong with that. You can always fix things. Once you have that, you'll want to start unifying every single scene, every single bit of dialogue into directing people towards that theme. Like, instead of a character going, I'm sure I'm hungry right now, they would instead say, I'm sure I'm hungry for some chicken right now, if your theme is about how much you fucking love chicken. Transitioning between scenes is a bit more difficult, because a lot of times the ideas that you have developed over time are not necessarily ideas that are interrelated at all, which is fine, but you can make them interrelated. You can make them interrelated. There's quite a bit of... I'm not going to go into detailed writing process. But yeah, the basic gist of it is that you want to keep it as skeletal as possible. Don't commit to individual lines or even characters. You know, sometimes you can just completely drop a character. It doesn't matter. The only thing that you need to concentrate on is whether something is being given a theme. One of the best things that you can do for yourself is to limit the amount of characters that you have to work with, because each character is going to need an arc, especially if they're primary characters. Even if they're secondary characters, they're at least going to need something that is either development or something that makes it so that they aren't just foils. You don't want secondary characters that are nothing but foils, that exist to either parrot information from you, the author, or that are just there to, you know, say, main character, what do you think about the following? So that the character can run their mouth. That's not what secondary characters are for. So the secondary characters also need that sort of development. So one of the best things that you can do is limit the amount of characters that you have to work with. You asked for porn, now you're getting it. Actually, it kind of looks like a face. Look at this. Maybe it's kind of like those basilisks, I guess. Actually, they have big eyes up here too. Double boob. Oh yeah. Anyways, enough of that. Enough of that hardcore pornography. Yeah. What the fuck was I doing? Every time I draw stick figure nipples, I get distracted. Yeah, just make sure that everything is sort of minimalized as much as possible whenever you start, because obviously as you write, you're going to keep developing things, and it's going to get more and more bloated over time. Don't worry too much about it. It's going to do that either way. Just make sure that everything is just minimal as much as possible. Usually what I would like to do is I would do an outline, which is kind of a stereotype of writing, but outlines really work. It's really helpful. You want to make sure that your chapters are developing individual ideas that lead to bigger ideas. So what is your biggest idea? Like, what is your theme? What's the biggest idea, the biggest question that is driving everything else in the story? And then you think, well, what are the components to that idea? Like for our stupid chicken example, you could bring up examples of why is it better than steak? Why is it better than pork or whatever? And you can have individual chapters that lead to people questioning their devotion to chicken in regards to the temptation of steak and the temptations of pork, or why one is better than the other, and, you know, just anything that you can think of in your own writing. I'm not going to give you a list, because obviously this is part of writing. It's you analyzing an idea and learning on your own why it is that you're trying to write about it in the first place. That's part of writing. If you're not learning something, you're not writing correctly. And whenever you're creating this outline, or however you like to work, you need to come up with all these root ideas that lead further down, and then just try to establish an order of logic, or an order of thematic progression, however you want to describe it, that ends up leading to a final resolution. And once you have that really general idea that is so nebulous that you could fit almost anything into it, start cramming in your individual scenes, your individual ideas, and try to make them work within the confines of your story. And if you find that it keeps getting more and more bloated, that's a sign that you have started to develop your idea, but you're not developing it, you're not narrowing the focus enough. Because that's one of the problems anytime that you're trying to write an essay for school or whatever. It's just trying to maintain focus. Because it's really easy to go off on a tangent, start chasing rabbits, or to start drawing butts, stick figure butts like here. Oh my god, look at that. That's a really narrow divot for the back. Guy has something wrong with his spine. That poor man. It's really easy to get distracted like that, and to start chasing off on other ideas. But you can't let yourself do that. That's the reason why your stories are getting bloated. Because you're expanding too much. Whatever, you should be directing things as much as possible. That's a general idea. That's what this is the sort of question that I would have to make a whole video for. And in the case of making a whole video, I would do that. I would sit down and write a little outline of all the things. Like anytime I do the Let's Gripe videos about something, that's how I would start. I would make an outline of all the ideas that are going to be leading to what I inexorably think is going to be the final resolving idea. And I would just make sure that everything is funneling towards it. This is how you do it. If it's not really working for you, just keep doing it, and eventually it will. It may take a few years, but that's what experience is for, and that's why you keep trying. Robert Thompson, Plague, if you were a scientist and you had to design a new type of fruit, either for food or for war, what would it look like? What would be its properties? I would probably make it look as uncomfortable as possible. I would probably make it look like a butt, a stick figure butt. I would probably give it like a big luscious butt and have like it grow down like this, but have like a little wedge like that. And have the most delicious part be like right here where I'm drawing. That way people would have to like come in from an angle and be like, this tastes so fucking good. I love this ass. And then they would feel really ashamed of themselves. But at the same time, it would taste so good that they just couldn't stop themselves from eating it. And it would have to be big enough, like coconut sized. That way they couldn't just reach their whole mouth around it like this. They'd have to come in at an angle, and get right between the butt cheeks. Like get a big chomp out of it right here. Just like munch right in there, right in that ass. And it would just make everyone feel really bad. Because you would see the guy at like Martha at the grocery, and she's looking at the things, like she's looking at all the butt fruit in the thing. She's like, oh, I need to get this for later. And then like Sarah from who she's known for years sees her. It's like, oh my fucking god, what are you doing? Are you buying butt fruit? No, I'm not doing that. And it would just make for really awkward social situations because they would always get into arguments about how good it tastes, but at the same time how it totally doesn't look like an ass, but it totally does because someone genetically engineered it to look like an ass. I don't know. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. And it would double serve for war because, hey, it would create contention between people and may lead, oh, what's his name? It may leave Gorbachev or whoever the fuck's running Russia now into declaring war on us. Putin? Yeah, it's Putin. Gorbachev. Did you know Gorbachev got arrested in Washington, D.C. one time because he was walking around? I think he had his shirt off or he was naked. I can't remember. He was drunk, though, and he was looking for a taxi. You can Google it. You can Google butt stick figures, too. Alright, anyways, that's all the questions for today. I hope you enjoyed this, if this has actually even been recording. Well, at least the audio has been recording. I don't know about Bandicam. You had that error whenever I first started. Anyways, that's it for this time. You'll see the final video soon enough. Actually, you might see the final video before you see this. I have no idea. Nah, you'll probably see this first. Anyways, continue to flood my inbox with questions that I may or may not ignore. I don't know. For all the people that have been, if you're watching this, for all the people that have been wondering about commissions and so forth, I'll be starting that up again once I'm done with this, because I'll finally have time to do like commissions and some Let's Play videos and things like that. Now that I don't have to worry about pumping this thing out as quickly as possible. But that's it. I will see you guys next time.